And now here is part 2 of our conversation with Laura Osnes and Nathan Johnson.
So when you were in New York, obviously your career was both of you were just very successful, living your lives. Everything was wonderful. And then 2020 happened.
What happened?
It was this little virus that came along.
Exactly.
The world stopped.
Yeah.
So obviously there was a very public thing that happened in your lives, and it affected both of you. I obviously want to hear Laura tell her story, but I really am curious about, I've never had this discussion with you about how hard that was on you as a husband. So Laura, will you just share a little bit with our audience about what you went through?
So the theater industry in New York specifically was very hard hit by the pandemic, and our industry thrives off of large groups of people coming together, singing on each other, all of these things that were supposedly not allowed. And I think every actor, I mean, film included, you know, the whole industry, entertainment industry was kind of shut down, had to figure out who they were without what they did and how we were all going to make money and make it through this. And so I was at first very surprised and excited by actors who were getting creative, coming up with virtual concerts, writing their own material.
Yeah, you got extremely resourceful too.
We did.
We were teaching a ton of
I was
class.
coaching kids, and like I was having a ball doing it, like virtual lessons and like finding purpose in that. In 2021, as things were starting to kind of come back bit by bit, and I had gotten asked to do a one-night concert on Long Island, and suddenly the venue was mandating the vaccine. And this was summer of 2021, and we hadn't yet been vaccinated, and I ended up having to back out of that concert. Very low-key, the director emailed everybody privately. I was honest, said I wasn't yet vaccinated, and a week later, there was an article in the New York Post saying I was fired for refusing to be vaccinated. And there were a lot of untruths in the article about putting my fellow castmates at risk. We hadn't even started rehearsals yet. That I was vague about my status when really I was
honest.
I was truthful. I told the truth. And that, yeah, like it was just, there were a lot of untruths. We ended up suing the New York Post for defamation, but it felt like my world completely shattered. And I knew that there was the theater community in New York. It was one view was allowed. And I never pushed my views on anybody. I just kind of quietly backed out. I wasn't taking any sort of stand. And yet when this happened, felt like we had to take a stand.
Now we're in a position where we have a choice to make.
Right.
What are we going to do?
And are we going to be courageous, or are we going to bow to the masses? And this was a die on a hill issue for us. It was something we felt very convicted and strongly, we felt so strongly about it that everyone should have the freedom to choose what is right for them in this. And we just felt like we had to take a stand, and I had to correct the wrongs that were in that article. So I actually ended up crafting a response. It was like the hardest 4 days of my life, I think, because so much hate was starting to spread on social media. A couple friends were reaching out saying, please get vaccinated. The strangers were the ones that were like, thank you for taking a stand and having this stance. I had very few actual friends that kind of stuck by our side and affirmed the decision at least.
I think we always knew that we maybe held some different views with them. And so we weren't necessarily looking for them to come alongside us and say, yes, you're doing great, keep going. You know, but we missed these people that were dear friends in our life that we invested in, and we were like, and we just look around and really nobody's there, and you're like, what the heck? And that was hard.
So
I think everybody was riddled with fear and anxiety, and they didn't, like, they maybe cared but didn't know how to care.
And they did care. We're finding out now.
Yes.
They cared and didn't know how
what to do.
Talk to us because fear was really prevalent. They were like, well, if I reach out, or if I talk to them, or if I come to their,
then I'll get canceled.
Or
my career will be over.
Which is such a,
that
it's
was
so
a lot
sad
of
that they felt that.
Yes.
And that was actually a thing during that time.
And for whatever reason, this article like went like wildfire. It really did. And it was very much a cancel culture kind of thing. And I don't know why people cared so much. I'm just a little Broadway person. And for whatever reason, this...
they were just looking for excuse, somebody to
You were
be
the
angry with.
scapegoat.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
And we just no longer felt safe in New York, no longer felt welcome there. And we moved down here within a month. And I was actually away doing a job that did end up letting me keep that job. I was filming a movie in Canada. While Nate moved us down, packed up everything in a U-Haul and moved us down by himself. And I flew home to our new home in Tennessee.
Yeah.
It was interesting too, because my business was shut down for how many months?
Yeah.
And having a photography studio on the High Line in New York, it's a beautiful space, and it was not cheap, and still having to pay rent, can't have a client. So I went through that, let my employee go. Like and so it was even this moment where we're like, it felt like a transition moment for us. And I tried to, keep it going a little bit. And I'm like, why am I fighting to keep a business going in a place that I can't even go into a McDonald's and get a hamburger? Not that I would, but but you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, we just felt so called down here as much as we were feeling like this was kind of being a pushed out of New York moment. We felt really called to Tennessee. And so that transition was a weird zone. It was hard.
It was a very dark year. It took me like a year to really kind of get my feet back underneath me, and a lot of emotional, recovering. But God surrounded us with community here, literally immediately, when we felt like everyone else we had known was scattering. And despite my work ethic and, what I had done in New York for 14 years, all kind of lost overnight over this one issue. Yeah. Like God brought us new people here, and we found an incredible community of artists, many in very similar situations, who felt ostracized from where they came from or ostracized from the business. And we're kind of leading a really special group of artists here that are beginning to create again and feeling safe and feeling freedom to do so. And then we found also just amazing women. I mean, I have found amazing women of faith who have just challenged me in that way. Friendships that I never knew I could have, that I longed for all of these years. That's the beauty coming from the ashes. Yes. And so we know we're supposed to be here, and it's a really beautiful thing. I just wish it didn't have to have been so public and painful to get us here. But as a result, like, we were just challenged in our faith and having to trust God more than ever, having to cling to each other more than ever. And He is rebuilding, and it's a really beautiful thing.
Yeah. And you think about it, we've been through things in our life like that, and you think that, you look back and you're like, this is the worst thing that could possibly happen in my life. But really, God is like, has His hand in it. He's making, think about where you're at now and how happy you are. Would you have changed? Honestly,
we talk about this a little bit.
It's like, I wouldn't trade in for anything and to get you where you are now. You see, and that's the beauty in it, when you see what He did, when you get to see His hand.
Yeah. It's really, we've mentioned this a lot, because I think I'm at a place where I see all the goodness that's come from the hardest situation that we've gone through. And it was hard. I'll be honest. Like, there were times when, and we went through like a lot of the stages of grief. And I there was a time where I was really angry too. Like, I was really angry.
Yes, me too.
Like, I was lit up. And so I wanted to fight, because I'm like, whether it's just on my social media or whatever, but I'm like, because it was just so unjust and wrong. And I saw that happening for other people.
So cruel, so publicly cruel.
Yeah, they were creatively publicly cruel. It was like, wow, that's
creatively publicly cruel.
You got a lot of time on your hands. Like, why you care, I have no idea. But go back to your mom's basement and keep on your keyboard. But there was that side of me that really wanted to fight.
You were
I'm like,
protecting. You're a protector. You're
totally.
a natural protector too.
And I did not have that in me. I'm really, really sensitive. And I've learned learned how to have some fortitude and build a backbone and not care what people think so much. And there's a lot of freedom in that.
Yeah.
And that's, again, more fruit that has come from having to stand in the midst of a storm and walk through a fire and come out the other side.
Yes.
But we did that together.
Girl.
Thank
Totally.
goodness.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
And growing in strength, I think it's always easy to say, oh, it doesn't bother me. It doesn't affect me. Oh, well, until they start saying something, then you're like, yeah, and I'm a people pleaser. I don't want to, don't ever say anything mean to me. I'll be sad. So it's like we can say it, but can we really, really stand for it when it comes? And,
yes. It was hard to do that though, because especially because the roles that you play and your public persona is a fairy tale princess. Like your people see you as this kind of gentle, sweet, wonderful, and you are all those things, but you're also a freaking warrior.
Had to learn how to be.
Yes. Yeah. And even in the 2 years that I've known you, I just have seen God just is like a fire under you. It's amazing. Like seeing you writing this incredible music and pouring your heart out. It's just beautiful to see that. I'm getting teary too.
Me too. I can't help it.
It's so good.
I love you so much.
It's so good. Yeah, exactly. We've talked about this a lot too, because I think you said the word courage, right? That was like, it was just like, that has been, I think, our word for, and yours especially, in the last couple of years. I think especially 2021, like courage was in 2022. Yeah. It was really about courage. And then we kind of moved from that. And when we came down here, it was like courage and authenticity. Like I want to live completely authentically. And I want people to be, for me to not, choose my words too carefully. And to think, care what people think about me.
Not feel like we have to fit in anymore or resort. You're like,
no. And I think one part of it is understanding, and this is really cool. There was a lot of people that reached out to us that said, "Hey, thank you for standing up. Like we feel the same way. This happened to us. My husband got fired from his job. Right. My son had a vaccine injury, like this, or like whatever it was." And we were getting, I was getting a lot. And I think I was probably maybe even getting more than you, because I think, no, that's probably not true. But I was getting a lot because people knew about Laura, and I think they didn't go straight to her. They came to me, and I was like, wow.
And again, you were posting a little more about taking a stand a little bit more. And I just got off social media.
I was waving the flag. But I think, and I think for me, coming out of that, I think that was a season. I almost had to go through that. Yeah. But I think there's also better emotions than anger. And there's, I think you have to we moved from that to forgiveness.
Yes, absolutely.
For sure.
And I think that's where a lot of restorations happened. A lot of, even with some past relationships, like we've had conversations now, and with a few people that, we've got back in our life to some degree. And I think it's important that you can't stay mad. Like it's like, I woke up mad and I'd go to sleep mad.
Yeah, because you were in survival mode. And I think that's part of the growth with your faith too, is that God says like, no, I've got it. It's okay. You don't need to take on this fight because I've got you. Right. And the taming of our tongue, because it's very easy to be in defensive mode when you feel an injustice, but he's already won. Like we can surrender all of that to him. And that's grace. That's just such a gift. Because I felt the same way. I felt injustice and I felt like people should apologize. And so many people were so angry at each other, and all of it. It wasn't just about the vaccine either. There was just everything became so polarized. Yep. And now we have the opportunity to heal, and it starts with you. I think you need to work on you first, and then it filters to others, not the other way around.
For sure.
Right. But yeah, I was right there with you, as you know.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I remember too, like my parents, and I love them so much, but like there was a time where my dad was like, or like feeling like you should be farther along in the healing process, and like, why are you still moping about it? And I had to just let it be. I had to be where I was. I couldn't heal faster than I could. And I get that there comes a time where you're like, okay, 5 years down the road, if you're still like, it's like, that's why you have people that you're buoyed by. And I feel like you've been one of those people for me too, just being like, we're in this together and we're going to raise each other up. We're going to lift each other on. We're going to pull each other forward. Yes. And I'm also going to cry with you and be sad when you need to be sad. And that's okay. That's okay too. That's part of the process.
Yeah.
Because if you're like fake healed or like always trying to just put on the happy face because I'm a Christian and things don't bother me and I'm okay. Like I also just had to
That's not authentic.
That's true. I had to allow myself that healing time.
Yeah.
And still, you know, I have sensitive moments and I have things that kind of, I hate the word trigger. It's like very kind of like on the nose word, but like that I can get sad for a moment. But I would say in general, like so much healing has happened. So much forgiveness has happened. It's just been, you know, it's been 2.5 years now. So you're like, okay.
Isn't that crazy how quickly that's gone?
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, I feel like I blinked.
Yes.
And you've been here a year almost.
Yeah. A year in June, which is, and just, you know, understanding where you guys, I came here, well, there was a mix of things, but I felt like I personally, the last few years were kind of rough in some areas. And I have been able to see God's hand, especially in the last few months, of his plan coming full circle. Like seeing why it all made sense. It all, because in the moment you're like, why is this happening? Why is this going on? And it's like, but this all had to lead to this. And so, and that, like I said, it's, some people don't always get to see that grace in that and the beauty in, you know, oh, he did have a plan. He didn't just leave me out there hanging to dry. You know, he's like, he's got that plan. And so knowing that is just a beautiful, it's a beautiful place to be in a beautiful relationship with him.
After going through all of that struggle, I feel for myself that I see his grace more on a daily basis as opposed to being on the other side and looking back and going, oh, wow, yeah, there he was. I actually see him every day now because of that.
That's cool.
And that's a real growth in my own faith, I think.
That's beautiful.
But if we hadn't gone through that, I don't know that I would have been able to see it that way.
Sure.
I think looking back at any of us, like, and I came from Phoenix, would you be happy right now if you were back where you were?
No.
Would you still be happy in New York? Or I know I wouldn't be happy.
I thought we would be lifers there, but like, no, with the way the industry is, it's broken.
Yeah.
And it's still, and I can see it from the outside because we have perspective on it now.
Yeah.
Actually,
it's like he brought us to the promised land, to the land of milk and honey, I call it. The land
I
of
had a
milk and
friend
honey.
ask me this morning, I had a breakfast with a buddy and he said, do you miss it? Do you miss the hustle bustle? I said, you know what? It was great for what it was. It really was. We spent some amazing years there and we made some good friends and we had some amazing times. And looking back at it, you know, I think for a moment there, it was like, oh, that was terrible. Get me out. You know, it was just kind of that.
I wrote a song about it called Technicolor, where it's like all my memories turned black and white when this happened. And everything turned ashy. And I was like, was that even good?
Yeah.
Was I even effective as a Christian, as an artist, as anything, to see the tables turn so quickly?
Because it turns everything sour when you go through an experience like that.
Yes.
And we really, I'll be honest, we were shown we saw the ugly side of that industry. And it's like, oh, like I don't want to have anything to do with that. But there is definitely, there's some wonderful people there. There's some things we look back and we go, well, that was a brilliant moment in our life. That was a wonderful moment. Okay, let's not throw everything out.
Memories are coming back in color.
Totally. Let's not throw everything out and say that wasn't God wasn't at work. And so I think part of it is that's part of our healing process.
Yeah.
And so.
And I miss like the excellence in the art that I was doing there that can kind of only be offered in that Broadway realm.
Yeah.
But part of our call here, I think, is to bring that experience and some of that excellence to this community, potentially. And we're meeting so many artists who have such amazing experiences that are kind of feeling that same call. Yeah. And I feel like we've only scratched the surface as to what God's plan is here for us. We're only just beginning to see the fruit already and the why. Yeah. But we're only 2.5 years in. Like, what's another 5 years going to bring? What's 10 years going to bring?
Yeah, I couldn't be more bullish on the future.
Yeah, we're really
so excited. So.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think it's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
I feel like we all feel that way. Like there's a little hope. The future's a little brighter in a place where, I don't know, he led you and the joy and talking about the Franklin area. I just noticed somebody posted on one of those Franklin Facebook groups or whatever. And I was like, I just loved it. It was like, I want to pray for everyone. And I'm like, if you had posted that on the Phoenix Facebook, you would have been banned. That would have been it. Every time I see stuff like, I'm just like, I love it here. This is why I'm here. Yeah. I think your testimony can especially grow when you're among believers also. Yes. I think being around believers is so crucial. And I think it's a blessing being in places where you don't get to always be around those believers. And it's just something I won't take for granted again, knowing
Absolutely.
To be
Same.
spurred on and
Yeah.
encouraged, especially in an industry in the arts. You know, you're a
Yeah.
publicist. It's the same thing. You're around.
Yes.
You know, it can be very challenging.
And media.
Yeah.
Yeah, media.
Yeah.
And I feel like we all came here needing to be revived and feeling like we were maybe very singular, very alone.
Yeah.
And God's doing that now. He's bringing so many people here. We're all being built up again
Yeah.
and learning what it's like to be
Yeah.
courageous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being spiritually re-strengthened, I think, because sometimes you
Yeah.
can just, when you know, if there's
Feel
not
like
a
an
church, you know,
island.
you're saying in New York, you only find that at church on Sunday. It's like, there's a strength that comes from when you get to have it every single day and get to have these conversations every day. And it's, it fills my soul. It's beautiful.
And maybe we'll all be
That's awesome.
called to go back out into the world at some
Well, I
point.
think-
It's
I
like,
think
we're strengthened here.
that is one of the
Yeah.
things that we've been really talking about is like,
Yeah.
okay, let's take, I feel there's like an incredible creative moment that's happening here
Yeah.
that is really beautiful, but it's not to just hoard it. It's
Right.
like, okay,
This
let's
spiritual
create.
cocoon
I
we
think that's
wanted
a
to
one.
stay in.
It's become a beautiful development town, and to create stories and ideas that can bless other people, other places. And I mean, I was just talking with Melissa at Backlight. I know you interviewed Melissa Smith.
our friend
I was talking to her a
Melissa.
couple hours
She's
ago about
amazing.
just how the importance. We worked on a project with her, which I'm
Yes.
very excited about.
Yes.
You know, following their 10-year anniversary show where they did Cinderella at TPAC, and had asked Laura if she wanted to play the fairy godmother and work with their artists.
Yeah.
And it was
did
one
the
of the
show
most
on Broadway, so it's very special.
incredibly
Yes.
beautiful projects that we've. I mean, truly, it's a special project.
Like of all the things, and like that was the most life-changing
It
thing
was,
I've ever
yeah.
done. You
Just
know,
the
It's like-
trailer, I
Yes.
was bawling.
Oh,
I'm like,
good,
I'm
good,
sold.
good.
I'm sold.
Good.
This is amazing.
And so, but part of that is like I was just talking to her. It's like, how do we do that elsewhere? Like, how does this?
Yeah.
You take what you have here,
Yes.
and is there a world where other people can start to implement these beautiful God kingdom ideas? Like, just because there's so many people that this can bless, and so many other communities that can be blessed by whatever idea is being created here. And so I think it feels like this great garden that's happening right now of just like cultivating new ideas, new growth, and hopefully it can bless the nation, bless the world.
So
Okay.
I don't know if I shared this with you, but Nate and Laura started a group with another friend of ours, Carrie, who and it's called Arts Rising. So when we all moved here, there's so many, as you were saying, so many creative, amazing, talented people that were finding refuge here. And they created this group, and it just was originally supposed to be a networking kind of thing, and it became this like safe haven, just beautiful community, and you know, all different kinds of people,
Totally.
Yes.
different gifts and everything, but just this authentic like surrender amongst each other where everybody just feels so supported. And that's something that I really love about that group and is so unique, is that everybody wants to help each other.
Yes.
There's no like
Yes.
hoarding, like, oh, I don't want to tell them about my contact because I might not get that job. It's just complete, genuine love and kindness. And I just really love seeing that. And I love seeing all the connections and what's happening amongst everybody.
That's great.
God has his hand completely in that group. It's
Totally.
amazing.
Totally.
Well, I think it's
Yeah.
like he called you to move, like, right? Like a lot of people whether it's to move here or somewhere else, but when he calls you and you do it, and then the blessings that come from it. You know, there's so many blessings in answering the call, and it's not easy. I'm sure it wasn't easy for me. It's like, oh, that's a lot to just up and just
Move
go.
your life.
And I know people
But
who have
brave.
felt that about Dallas and other places they've moved to, and they said, God called me, and you go, and it's really beautiful.
It's so funny. My mom had about maybe 5 years ago, she was like, hey, New York. Like, is that where you like?
That's right.
We thought we were New York or nothing.
Yeah.
And we really bought into this idea that New York is the center of the universe, and we are at the center of the universe. And I'm kind of joking, but like, but
it
really,
was for
truly,
what you were doing,
And
yes.
so but she was like, I just pray, ask God if this is where He wants you for the rest of your life. If and it was interesting. We're from Minnesota. 14, 15 years in New York. It was one of the Minnesota.
Don't you know?
But I never thought I would be moving south to Tennessee. Like it just was not even a blip on my radar.
No, right.
And it's funny because my family has all moved. They're in Memphis.
Right.
My brother was a doctor in Memphis and is a doctor in Memphis. And my nephews are there. My mom moved down. My grandparents had moved down. And I just was like, wow, that's like, I mean, the goodness of God on display. Like my mom had something in her heart that was like, hey, pray about this, prepare your heart, because I just don't know that you're going to be there for the rest of your life. I'm like, okay, Mom.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, well, he's going to have to make it pretty clear.
He made it really clear. It was like, bam. It was like door closed.
I was like, wow, that was clear.
That's true. And I think, I've said that too, is that I think it would have taken something that drastic for us to consider.
And he almost knew that.
I think he clearly did.
Well, I know, hopefully you've learned what I learned, and this was something many, many years ago, but I've learned that when God tells you to move, you move. Otherwise, he's going to move you in the most inconvenient way possible, and it is not fun. So I've learned when he tells me to do something, I don't dig in the heels. I do it because if not, it's gonna happen either way, and it's not gonna be pretty.
Yeah.
So as you know, it's like, okay,
you had no reason to leave. There would have been no reason.
True.
So he made a reason.
Yeah.
Very, very clear reason.
And I was saying, do you remember I had that conversation with you about in your career, like your whole identity was Broadway. Like that was everything. Like your heart was completely surrendered to that. And just seeing you bloom and grow in other ways and how he's like giving you these contacts to write music and everything. Sweet. That is so amazing because you wouldn't have had the space for that. You were so busy working all these shows every day. You didn't have room to find those things in yourself and create in a different way.
That's right.
And he's growing you through that.
That's exactly it. Like you said, for better or for worse, I think I put a lot of my identity in that. I thought that was the only thing I was good for, valuable for, people wanted from me. And the pandemic started that thing. I alluded to it earlier of figuring out who I am without this. Yeah. But it's still my purpose. I thought it was. And now here going like, I literally can't do that anymore. And I've lost a lot of my interest in that industry. So how do I use my gifts in other ways? And hasn't been easy. I feel like an old dog learning a new trick, but it's that saying yes that I feel like God's calling us to try. And I go, okay. All right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to write a script. I've never done that before. Here we go. I'm going to write some songs. I've never done that before. Producing.
And
I was in the studio.
Songs, beautiful.
Thank you for saying that. Like in the studio last week, doing some vocals on a new song. And I'm like, we got a thing back yesterday and notes on it. I'm like, is this even good? Like I doubt myself every day. I still question. I still doubt it. But we're just saying yes. We're just saying yes and doing it and just having the courage to be like, we're putting things out. And you just got back from doing a short film project in New Orleans and learning. Cool. It's like, we just feel like we're in a season of learning and expanding. And this was my world. This is all I thought, and God's just in the season of going like, there is actually so much more. And we, as I said, we're just scratching the surface of it right now.
Absolutely.
So thanks for mentioning that.
So was Tennessee on your radar because of your family being there? Or
no, I think that we had been down here. Laura had a project that she had started. That was a princess concert series. And so you had been down here a couple times and noticed how things were opening up. And
my business partner is here. And so we had a concert during COVID's fall 2020 that we came down here and did a virtual concert at her place. And her husband took me out
to Franklin
Farmers Market.
He knew what he was doing. He took me to all the spots.
He was a smart man.
Like, what is this magical place, you know?
Yeah. So I started looking at real estate, which is dangerous.
Oh, dear.
It's my favorite thing.
But it was a whole year later that we moved. So God like planted the seeds and I think slowly just loosened our grip on New York City. We basically kind of moved to Connecticut. We had an Airbnb property, actually, that we just bought like 2 years before COVID. And we ended up kind of moving there.
That was God.
Yeah. Totally God.
Yeah.
And we knew. And we even then was like, oh, life not in the city is kind of nice and like peaceful. And there's like balance. Like we started to experience a life outside of it that was nice.
It kind of eased us into it.
Yeah.
I just can't even picture you. It's so funny because I don't know you as New Yorkers. I just cannot even picture you guys in New York.
Oh,
Isn't
we did
that
it.
funny?
I'm putting color into my lifestyle. Which, by the way, let me point out. We did not plan. I left the house earlier and then I saw her. I was like, oh my goodness.
We didn't see each other this morning until here. Yeah. So, and you guys too. I'm like, we all got the memo.
I know.
But we didn't. I usually wore all black all the time, and that's
I
my
know.
New
I wear.
Yorker.
She's like, "You'll wear black," and I'm like, "I'm not gonna wear black today.
I'm mixing it up today.
Yeah. So I walk in. She's like, "What?"
It's awesome.
It's spring.
And
Spring
then it's
has
like,
sprung.
yeah, I needed a little
Oh my
brightness this
God.
week.
So
So
funny.
yeah,
That's good.
yeah.
So Franklin was you explored Franklin, and then that was
Yep.
then
kinda-
you told her.
Yeah,
what-
I
on the
knew,
map. And
and
you
I
do
think
have
it's important.
family.
I was getting really knowledgeable with what's available, how much things cost, and
Yes.
so we were able. I actually sent the house that we ended up moving
And-
into to another friend, and I was like, "Hey, I got
It's a
this
good
house is
deal.
great. You could, it's underpriced, and you should." And then a month later, it was ours.
That's so
We're like,
crazy.
I think this is supposed to be our house.
It's a
And
great
then you
house.
also have
Thanks.
a production company in New Orleans. You've made 2 films there. And
Oh,
so
wow.
we found ourselves coming down to Memphis for a lot for family, going to New
New
Orleans for
Orleans.
work stuff. And Nashville was kind of in the middle. We knew we
Yeah.
didn't want to live
Yeah.
in either of those places. And Nashville still has a lot of music for me to be able to hopefully pursue something here. We had no idea what we were going to be doing. We still don't. But isn't it so
Oh,
great
sure
to
we
be
do.
on
We
that
got it
journey?
all
Yeah.
planned out.
All
It's
figured
a,
out.
It's a total adventure of just literally waking up every day going like, God, what are you breathing on? Where do you want us? How are you using us? We have a lot of creative irons in the fire, and we're waiting to just see where the momentum is and
Yeah.
where he's leading and what
And
doors
that's
he opens.
exciting to be in a
Yeah.
place of surrender like that,
Yep.
and just let him pull you along.
Yeah.
See where it goes. It's so
Yeah.
exciting. So, what's your favorite thing about each other?
Mm.
What's your?
Oh
You
my
go first.
gosh.
Oh my gosh! She's like, well, let me just get my list.
Oh,
straight.
honestly, I could have a list, babe. And immediately the first things that came to my mind were leadership
Definitely.
and babe, I love you. And even just the collaboration
Mhm.
of being able to have somebody to A, do life with, but B, now get to work with. Like we're kind of working together for the first time. Our worlds
They always
intersected,
but yeah.
in ways in New York City. And just the companionship. I really love having someone to do life with, to create memories with, to just have at home, being in your presence. I just really like just being with you.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's always been a treasure. Even when we were friends, we always just really enjoyed each other's company, and remembering that 17 years in of
Yeah,
going
that's
like, wait, you're still
amazing.
my best friend.
Yeah.
And especially this last 2.5 years, like you showed up for me in ways that just were unbelievable.
I think so.
And you carried me through so many dark moments and picked me up off the floor and reassured me of my
That's
value
my
and
job.
my worth.
That's my job.
Oh my gosh! Here I go again.
I know.
No,
I
seriously,
know.
it's like that
And I'm like,
is-
I don't know, like where I would be without you. I would not be in a good place.
The Bible says, pick a partner you can go to war with.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely
That's
picked
great.
Amen
that
to
partner
that.
that
like, when we
definitely
got
went into the
married-
battlefield with you. And that's beautiful.
That's so good. And I feel like we've done that. But
Mhm.
like our first 12 years were like pretty rose colored, to be honest. Like
Yeah.
we jump started our marriage with me having a job, a year-long job and a Broadway show, and like life was exciting. And in that season, you had to figure out what you were going to do.
Yeah.
And that was a different kind of warring season, and you coming into your own and finding your
Mhm.
call. And now the tables are kind of turning a little bit where I feel like I'm getting to kind of support you
Mhm.
in some new things. I guess we're still
Mm.
supporting each other in
Yeah.
things, but
That's an artist's life, though. It's
It is.
like
Right?
one
Yeah.
It's a
tier.
roller coaster.
Yes.
Absolutely.
But that's another thing that, again, God being in your relationship is so beautiful because it could go a very different direction. You know, with two partners that are both artists.
Yeah.
You know, when
100%. We've seen it happen a lot.
finances,
For
there's so many
For
things.
Yeah.
sure.
Yes.
Right.
We've seen it
Yes.
happen a lot, and we have
Yes.
obviously we have our things. Of
Oh,
course,
for
right?
sure. Yeah.
Nothing's
But,
perfect.
yeah.
We're broken humans, but
Yeah.
you've taken the vow. That's the thing. You've made that promise to each other. That's the foundation.
For sure.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think just because I don't want to go without being said too, like one of my favorite things about Laura is the enjoyment of the little things. Like I think actually it slows life down a little bit. She loves, like, honestly, she loves the little things of us just being at home, our dog cooking a meal together. Like, I really appreciate that. And then on the other side of things, I've seen a courage that's come out of her that I'm like, oh, that's cool. She doesn't even know that she's being courageous. I'm like,
Yeah.
honey, that was huge.
Yeah.
And we just had a conversation the other day, or you did, with a friend of yours, and she doesn't necessarily look at herself as a courageous person.
Really?
I know. That's what I said. And I
I'm
said,
so sensitive. I
Yeah.
just like,
I was like, but honey, that's not what courage is.
Your job of a hat.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Exactly.
And we had a moment the
learning.
other night where I said, hey, just so you're aware, it's not like courage is not like, and I'm finding a courageous moment that I can stand up for something. Maybe some people do that, but like this is, you had a moment where you could choose to back down and you could choose, or you could choose courage and you could choose to stand up or be an example for people. And you have chosen that 100 times. Like I can tell you how many, like it was day after day after day for a bit there. And so I'm like, the courage, and I would speak that over you. I'm like, you are courageous. Like you are doing it. She's like, I'm not courageous.
I just think I didn't volunteer.
Totally.
I didn't choose. I have chosen courage, but I didn't choose courage.
But that's not how it always
been
works,
put in
right?
a position where I was forced to have to be courageous and learn courage.
Yeah, but other people might not have chosen that same path. And so I'm like, I stand here and I say,
Thanks,
way to
baby.
go, keep it up.
Love you.
And so that's
sometimes it's like
Awesome.
like thrown in the lion's den is sometimes for us,
Right.
you know.
Right.
He puts us in there sometimes for ourselves to see what we can do and how strong our faith is, and pull things out of us that we didn't know we had. Which it sounds like you did that too. And I think it's beautiful.
That's
It's
good.
really beautiful.
You both are so you have so much humility as a couple and as individuals. And I don't know if I've ever told you this, but I didn't even know anything about your career when I met you. I knew you were an actress because our friend Trisha had told me you were an actress, but I had no idea. And I loved you for your courage. Was the first thing that I would have said about you. Wow. I'm serious. You were, because of you went through such a storm, and don't let the enemy get in your head about that ever. You are amazing. Amazing, courageous, strong, beautiful woman, aside from all of your gifts and talents.
Thanks,
And
Kat.
you, sir, are such a leader. That's such a good word for him, because, you know, in our groups when we meet together, you just hold the space so beautifully, and you have so much talent and so much grace and so much kindness that just pours out of you so naturally.
Thanks.
And I just think you guys are going to do such amazing things here. You've opened a door for so many people. So it's an honor to be your friend and to see you guys thrive like this. I love it.
Thank you.
Thank you,
for
Kat.
saying that.
Likewise,
Appreciate
like
that.
back at you. Kathy, I can't wait to get to know you more.
And now I get to know you guys too. I'm like, they're
So-
like beautiful inside and out. Look
They
at
are. They are
just
the real
good
guys are
deal.
souls.
sweet.
And
Power couple.
this is why I think, you know, we talked about why starting this podcast was so important, is that there are so many beautiful stories of God's grace and people's journeys that we just felt like need to be heard. And just with you two today, it just really, really reminds me of that, for people who are going through something that maybe it feels to them that the whole world is after them, which you felt like. Maybe I hope someone hears that today and is like, I'm going to get through this. It's going to pass. This will, I can see the sun over this. And
Absolutely.
I hope that inspires someone. And I feel like it will. I feel
And
like
we were
people
inspired by other people.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, that
courage inspires courage.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And we had many people that we were watching kind of during this time when we needed a little bit of our own courage. We borrowed some courage from other people that we had heard their
Right.
stories. I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
courage begets courage, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's cool to see. And so thank you for saying
I
that.
think knowing that you're not
yourself.
alone, like find your people in that. If there are certain people that disappear, know that there are other people out there that feel the same way.
Yeah.
And finding them, letting that buoy your strength in those seasons, and also trusting God's strength. He is strength in our weakness. And I love what you said too about that justice. I think our worldly hearts like want justice. And there was something in that for us that we felt an act of courage was seeking.
I think that thing that wants justice is actually from God. How we respond, you know what
That's
I mean?
it.
We've
And
got
the
to do it in a
tone.
way that it reflects him. You know, and
Yes.
That's it,
reflects
babe.
the person that he's calling us to be.
Well said.
Yeah,
So-
that is so true. It's so easy to like, without sounding too spiritual,
Do it.
our flesh desires to take control. We want to take control, and we want the justice the way we want our justice. But we don't have to do that. That's the amazing thing. And we are called to call out things that are wrong, but there is such a beautiful way of letting him lead that first. Letting him take the step and then pausing and then going instead of the other way around.
It's good.
Yeah.
And instead seeking forgiveness instead of justice, and learning that and letting God work on my heart and forgiving others. He forgave me.
Yeah.
Like how much more I need forgiveness. How much more should I forgive other people?
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. Exactly. That's so good. That's so true.
Yeah.
And the forgiveness part is really about your release too. Like
Totally.
the other person doesn't even really carry that.
Right.
They're just going on with their life, and you're carrying this anger and frustration and resentment inside you that's preventing you from being your full self.
Yes, and moving forward.
You got to release that. You have to release that.
It felt really good. I talked about this a lot too. Like, it felt really good to hang on to that bitterness for a while, because I think if you heal too soon, then it it wasn't that big of a deal.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that was one of the most hurtful was people were like, oh, well, Laura will be fine. If anyone can handle this, it's Laura, because she's happy or she's whatever. And I was like, that was hurtful to me, to be like, this is not something you can just brush over. But walking through that and going like, there is light on the other side. And I'm actually coming out forged, refined, and stronger.
Refined.
Refined. That's our word lately, refined. And I'm like, man, I'm good. I'm good. God, take me out of fire now. Seriously. I'm really kind of had enough. I'm good.
No pain, no
totally
gain.
Refined. Perfect. I'm perfect now. Okay. Just take me out. Yeah.
We're
so
made strong in our weakness, though. He says that. It's like you have to go through that what is that
process?
Yeah. I was talking about it with you in the last podcast about how a gem is tousled. It doesn't look like a diamond. It has to go through so much before it becomes that.
A pearl coming out.
Yeah,
starts as
pearl.
a speck of dust.
Exactly.
And he sees that beauty in the end. Like, we don't see it in the moment. We're like, how's this going to turn out beautiful? And then it's like, okay, there you go. There it is. It turns out even better than we could have imagined, right? I mean, I feel like everyone can say that.
It's interesting because we came up with the name Rebel Rocket. My
for a
mom
production
had actually
company.
you might find this fun.
Yeah.
My mom had a dream and she's like, I saw you guys. I don't think I've shared this before, especially not.
I have, but
okay.
I did on a podcast
that's
last
right.
week.
You did. Yes, you did. You did. That's right.
Second tier.
I haven't shared this. But
tier.
she had this picture. She said, I saw you guys flying a rocket ship, and it was heading in direction. People were.
You had all your friends.
You had all your friends, and you and Laura were in the front seat and just flying away. And she said it wasn't exhaust coming out of the back. It was diamonds that were being left. I was like, Mom, that is a really cool picture. She's like, does that resonate? I'm like, yeah. And that's actually why we called our production company Rebel Rocket Entertainment. And we want to be able to create a space, call people to come alongside with us. And we want to go someplace and leave a trail of diamonds in in our wake. And so we're heading in that direction. I think we've got some amazing diamond makers that we've accumulated. My gosh. And so we're excited. We're excited. But anyways.
Like, again, as rebels, like, being a believer in this day and age is rebellious.
Absolutely.
Standing for something and holding your ground, going against the grain of society, of media, of culture right now is rebellious. It's an act of rebellion. So come with us in the rocket, friends.
I got my seatbelt on.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I don't have a seatbelt on.
Yeah, I know.
You guys
sitting on
what's
the roof.
what's your website for, so people can go and follow it?
It's rebelrocketentertainment.com.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
perfect.
they have
It's just
lots
a little
and it's
little
new.
site.
I mean, we're
little site. We've got about 18 projects in our slate,
projects
though.
under
So
the radar yet for our
we're
gosh.
pushing.
Just a few.
We're pounding that pavement. But no,
That's
we're excited.
amazing.
So,
That's amazing, you guys. Thank you so much.
thank you.
And
It's been
tell
a
us your
pleasure.
social medias too. We want to know where people can follow you both.
I am at Laura Osnes, my name, LauraOsnes.
And I'm Nathan Johnson, NY.
And what
We need to change
That's
that.
how New York I thought I
TN.
was.
TN,
So it looks like Nathan John Sonny.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But I went to change it. I'm like, well, this is really difficult to change.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
to see.
you
Oh,
know,
they put you through it.
they put me
Nothing can
through
be
it.
easy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
But it's
Yeah.
okay.
That's
It
how
might
New
be
York,
worth
it's
it.
that's kind of cool. That's a testament to
Well,
going like,
a
hey.
moment.
Yeah. So, well, the NY can be, my brother, his Instagram is Steve Cardenas PR for Power Ranger, but mine is Cat. We had no idea.
Oh.
I made mine
So he's
Kathy
not a
Cardenas
publicist.
for PR for public relations.
Right, exactly.
See, so NY could really be just a lot of things.
Right.
So it could
That's
be,
a
you could find
new
something
acronym.
I mean,
Yeah.
who would have
funny?
guessed? I mean,
New
yeah.
you.
How you come up with that?
New
Yeah.
me.
Yeah,
I love it.
So
See?
great.
See? Look at that. Look at that.
It's so funny.
We've solved
That's
all
amazing.
the problems.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I feel like we have. This has been an awesome hour. It's been really fun. You guys are amazing.
Thank
So
you.
I-
You too. It's just such a
Thank
pleasure
you.
to be here.
You too,
Story.
ladies. Thank you for creating a platform for people to share their stories of hope and of grace. We're really honored to be here and commend you and all that you're doing as well.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so
Pleasure.
much. Love you guys.
Love you too.
All right.
Thank you.